see all of you who are gathered here this evening, and it's nice to see those of you who are with us online on this February 20th, 2022 at Jazz Vespers at the First Reformed Church in Schenectady. We welcome tonight, it's the third Sunday of the month, so we welcome tonight Peg Delaney on piano, Bill Delaney on the bass, and Nathan Schied on the drums. We are grateful to Minh for being here to do sound and sight for those online and those of us here in the room. And our theme for tonight is the end of the day. We're here at the end of the day. As we hit the end of the day, I think we should send a shout out and congratulations to Bill Levering, who had his first Sunday today as the new pastor at the First Presbyterian Church in Valatia. And since we're talking about the end of the day, that seemed to me a perfect topic for Vespers, because Vespers is a service of evening prayer that comes at the end of the day. In the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Coptic Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church and the Lutheran Church and the Anglican Church, there are liturgies for this. It's a fixed prayer time in the evening. And the word Vespers itself, you may know, those of you who studied classics, comes from the Greek word hespera and the Latin word vesper, which mean evening. Typically, a Vespers service uses psalms and biblical canticles, and it's usually prayed around sunset, and we may actually have a sunset this evening. Old English speakers translate the word Vespers as, I can't even pronounce it in Old English, Offensang, which you will recognize evensong. You've probably heard of that before. And in the Indian and Syriac traditions, the Orthodox Church and the Oriental Protestant Church, this office is known as Ramsho, and it's prayed by facing east. Other denominations just call it Vespers, and that's what we're going to call it tonight. So here we are, we and the evening which is falling and the music and whatever we hold holy, and we're going to begin tonight with you and the night and the music. Well, the last few evenings, I've been watching it happen tonight out in the trees where the wind has picked up in the evening. Has it been cold enough for you lately? Woo, cold, cold. So one of the poems that I found was a Robert Frost poem, and this is called An Old Man's Winter Night Poem. All out of doors look darkly in at him through the thin frost, almost in separate stars that gathers on the pane in empty rooms. What kept his eyes from giving back the gaze was the lamp tilted near them in his hand. What kept him from remembering what it was that brought him to that creaking room was age. He stood with the barrels round him at a loss, and having scared the cellar under him in clomping there, he scared it once again in clomping off, and scared the outer night, which had its sounds, familiar like the roar of trees and crack of branches, common things, but nothing so like beating on a box. A light he was to no one but himself where he sat, concerned with he knew what, a quiet light, and then not even that. He consigned to the moon, such as she was, so late arising, to the broken moon, as better than the sun in any case for such a charge, his snow upon the roof, his icicles along the wall to keep, and slept. The log that shifted with a jolt once in the stove disturbed him, and he shifted and eased his heavy breathing, but still slept. One aged man, one man, can't keep a house, a farm, a countryside, or if he can, it's thus he does it, of a winter night. The next piece is Midnight Mood. So I go looking for things in books and I go looking for things online, and some of the things that I find are really old. The one that I found that I want to read to you now, called Twilight of the Mystical Evening, was dated the 16th of February, 2022. Remembering as the twilight grows red and trembles on the burning horizon, the hope in flames that recedes, and a mysterious partition widens as well, where many blossoms, dahlia, lilies, tulips, and ranunculus, soar upward around a trellis and run through the morbid exhalation of heavy and warm perfume, the poison of which dahlia, lilies, tulips, and ranunculus drowns my senses, my soul, and my reason, mixed into an immense swoon, remembering as the twilight. The next piece is by a very famous person, Peg Delaney. It's called Twilight. Could I ask if somebody that is sitting with two chairs that's only using one to move it separately so a person who just came in has a chair to sit in that's safe? That's probably not a good one because it's near the camera. Thank you. Thank you. We are a good community here. Appreciate it. So when Peg chose this topic and sent it to me, when she was thinking about it, she said, the end of the day, rest, quiet, sleep, night skies, completion of tasks, a job well done, perhaps. And then she said this, going to work hard on learning these things as they are a challenge. Well, I don't know how many of you have heard of Parker Palmer before. Parker Palmer is a Quaker mystic writer, and he shared this probably in a blog post called Rest for a Moment in a Poem's Piece. As various forms of human-made madness continue to swirl around us, occasionally catching us up in the swirl, it's important to be intentional about seeking sources of inner peace. Only when we're at peace inwardly can we bring some measure of peace to a violent world. That's why I'm grateful for this poem by Wendell Berry. He not only reminds us of the peace to be found in the natural world, he offers us the peace to be found in a poem. So he then cites this poem, The Peace of Wild Things. You may have heard this before, by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Palmer goes on to write, most of the time, I can't lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. But I can rest in the beauty and wisdom of this poem anytime I want. It's worth noting that Berry says, for a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. With that grace and freedom in hand, we can return to the madness and do what we can to help others reclaim their humanity until it's time once again to reclaim our own. Deep Purple. I want to share something with you that is brand new to me that I learned about that I think is really important. How many of you have ever heard of the NAP ministry? There is such a thing called the NAP ministry. It was founded in 2016 by a woman named Tricia Hersey. It's called the NAP ministry, Rest is Resistance. It is a performance art and a political movement, perhaps. Probably not really big yet, but in the Black community, rest is resistance among a community that has been expected, people who are the descendants of enslaved peoples who have had to work and work and work and work and work. Rest is resistance. Maybe it's also how to regain energy in the movement of resistance in these days. Anyway, there is also something called Black Power Naps Magazine. You might want to check that out. A publication focused on interrogating racial equity and promoting rest and healing among Black people. I want to share with you a poem, which is also a sort of a meditation, so one of these guided meditation type things. So if you can sit comfortably and close your eyes, I think you might get more out of it. Just go with it. It could be helpful for you. This is called Rest Woke by Jamila Malika. Wherever you are, whether you are walking around or lying down, notice if your top and bottom teeth touch. Part them. If your tongue touches the roof of your mouth, soften it down and away. Notice your eyes, like your tongue, can rest inside your deer head. Soften down and away. And your eyebrows, might they rest too? Or if not, notice if you can feel their weight for a moment. Like your bottom teeth, tongue, eyes, and eyebrows. Notice your shoulders. Can there be any amount more space between your shoulders and ears? And your ears, like your shoulders, can let go a little with each exhale. Any amount is real good. There will be another exhale for another go. Notice if this next exhale can last any amount longer than the last, and the next, and the next. Keep going, dear one. And there isn't anything you must do or be to be breathed. Your exhale will always follow your inhale, and your inhale will always follow your exhale. Maybe put one hand on your belly or chest to feel your breath in your body. And maybe feel breath above your lip or below your nose. Maybe hear the sound of your body breathing. Maybe find the bottom of your exhale and then the top of your inhale. To do so, maybe stand on all four sides of your feet. Notice which feels heaviest, the inside edge, outside edge, heels or toes. If you are lying down, you can flex your feet to feel that place you tend to rest most on. Is one spot tighter than the rest? If you are standing, you can bend your knees any amount and lift and spread your toes is there one part that is heaviest? Notice all the parts of you that rest to any surface, like the floor, chair, or bed. Notice all the parts that don't. Maybe the arch of your foot, or the arch of your back. Maybe not. Notice the parts of yourself that rest on yourself, like your soft inner arms to the sides of your body, or your soft inner thighs to each other. Notice, because it is nice to know ourselves more and more, not because you have to change anything. We can be curious. If you are lying down, notice your next exhale, how the front of your body softens into the back of your body, and the back of your body can soften too. If you are standing, notice how your shoulders can soften towards your feet, and your feet into the floor. If you like, you can speak this aloud. My flesh and bone are home. And if you are still awake, you can listen to Twilight World by Marion McPartland. So do you have rituals that signify to you the end of the day? Maybe you come home and you take your shoes off and put your slippers on. Maybe you light a candle at dinner. Maybe you have an adult beverage of some sort. I am mindful of what we used to do. Maybe you had rituals as a child about the way you got ready for bed and the prayers that you said with your parents, or we always sang with our children at night. The two favorites were Abide With Me and Go to Sleep, You Weary Hobo. And Alan Shartok used to do that, Go to Sleep, You Weary Hobo, when my kids were really little. And we once called in at the very end of a fun drive when they were like, wow, up here. And we asked him to play that, and you could just hear him kind of go, because it's the end of the day, right? And maybe at the end of the day, you also come to a time where there are prayers that you say of letting go of things that didn't go so well, or thanksgiving for the things that did, or lifting up the people or situations that you can't handle yourself. I want to invite you just into a minute of prayer to allow you to lift up whatever you need to whoever will hold it for you. Let's pray. Amen. I think we're going to have time for one piece, one more reading, and one more piece after that. I'm hopeful. So we are about to hear Turn Out the Stars.
Okay. We're going to do When Lights Are Low first.
Light, okay.
Yeah, we're going to do When Lights Are Low.
When lights are low.
2, 3, 4.
So let's thank Peg Delaney and Bill Delaney and Nathan Schied for the music tonight. We thank all of you who are here this evening and all of you who have tuned in online. We thank Vu for giving us tech support tonight. I'm Lynn Carman Bodden, the pastor here, and I would say also we are very grateful for your gifts to support this ministry. We almost broke even last year. That was a good thing. So your gifts are welcome. And I make you aware that next week, Dave Gleason will be here on piano and Mike Lawrence on bass with Joe Doolittle as host. And I'll tell you the theme ahead of time is travels. So I began this evening by mentioning that Vespers is a set service and often involves psalms. So I want to end with a reading from the 139th Psalm, which is often read at the twilight of people's lives, but also in the evening. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, that I know very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, when none of them as yet existed. How weighty to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. I try to count them. They are more than the sand. I come to the end. I am still with you. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Turn out the stars.